Leave that one, an extra 40 minutes. So I was getting ready to go to Costa Mesa, that's close to Newport Beach in California, to the high school to talk to new people, new students about a real estate career. So that's pretty cool that they're having a career day because, a lot of people don't understand, being a loan officer or being a real estate agent, having a real estate license, and being able to help homeowners get into new homes. A lot of people don't understand the impact of that. So I get to go talk to young adults about the impact about having a real estate career and a real estate license. So I think that's super cool. However, I also had some students in my class ask me some questions that they missed when we were going over the cram course. And I said, okay, when's your test? And he said, his test isn't for a while. And I said, well, let me do this. I will make you a video. Good morning, Isadora and Mark. How are you guys doing? Did you like miss me totally? There is Arlene. So anyway, I am getting ready to leave. I can't believe I am actually ready 45 minutes before I have to be at Costa Mesa High School. But I had a couple students ask me questions that were in the cram course, and I said, maybe I'll make you a video. So hopefully this will be the video for him. He was asking me about implements. And implements are not really explained very well. Hi, Maria. How you doing? All my favorite people are showing up. Hey, anybody that's going to be in Sacramento, remember, I'm going to be in Sacramento. I'm going to fly in on Monday morning, and I'm going to fly out on Thursday night. So I want to find some time during the day that anybody that's good morning, that anybody that's near Sacramento that wants to stop by, if we could do it like maybe at noon one day. I know Tuesday I have a luncheon, so I'm going to look at my schedule and I'll come back on before I go to Sacramento and let you know where I'm going to be. I'm kind of watching the, oh, you missed me. Do you really want me to come back and do some more principles? Because I was thinking about taking some of the principles off and doing more in-depth classes that are better for you to understand so that you can pass the real estate exam. But I don't even know if you guys are looking to pass the real estate exam. Do you guys still have to take your test? I need to hear from you directly. You guys all know my number. So anyway, one of the things that somebody asked me about was implements because they're all confused about implements. The only thing I believe that you only need to know on the state exam. Hi, Susan. The only thing I believe you need to know on the state exam about implements are they are corn or any type of crop that you are harvesting and getting ready to take away and sell at the open market. Now, implements, when you're talking about a landlord tenant situation, the tenant gets to take it. So the tenant's working their crops and they're growing them. Implements are crops that are annual crops. That's all they are. Annual crops. Implements, annual crops. It would be a lot easier if the state exam would say annual crops growing on the ground, but they're not. They're going to say implements to make sure you know what that word is. And then after you pass the state exam, you will never have to know that word again. So on the state exam, they're talking about corn. If they talk about corn and it's landlord tenant, the landlord has to let the tenant come back and get their crops if they have to harvest them after their lease is up. Now, if it's buyer seller situation, which is on the test, pretty much everybody gets the corn and the crop one. It says, I just passed, yes, 3 finals, but I don't feel like you've learned enough. Yeah, you're not going to really learn that much in those classes. And thank you for the business look. I'm getting ready to go and do career day. Um, if you're not ready for the test, I mean, usually people are not ready for the state exam after they pass their 3 courses. That's why they come to me for the cram course, my friend. The cram course, I tell you questions there's questions on your state exam that have 4 correct answers. And you have to know which one of the correct answers the DRE wants you to know. So that's why people take my exam prep class. I can't even talk this morning because there's questions on the test that are wrong in the real world. Wrong. There's at least that I know of, probably at least 12 questions on the state exam that are wrong in the real world, but right. And you have to know which answer is right for the state exam. There are questions that have more than one correct answer, but you have to know the most correct answer. So there's things on the state exam that if you don't take some kind of exam prep from somebody that knows what they're talking about, it's almost impossible to get a good score. So that's why people take the cram course. And one of the questions on it is the implements. And a lot of people have a problem with the corn growing out of the ground. Well, think of it this way. If you're a buyer and you see a tree, a corn growing in the ground has roots, right? And if the roots are in the ground, like a tree is in the ground, the seller can't take it with them. Okay. So implements, The buyer gets it because they're paying for it. And that's the main question I believe that you get on the state exam about implements. So somebody asked me about that. And then they asked me about all the water right questions. I mean, like the whole section, like he stepped out to go to the bathroom or make dinner at that time because it was all the water right questions. So I'm going to make it really quick. Accretion, natural causes pushing land up onto the property. You're gaining property because accretion is pushing it with natural causes, wind, rain, whatever, onto your property. So you're gaining more property. Okay, that's accretion. So I go creeping accretion. Got that? And then the other one he had a question about was avulsion. Avulsion is when, like let's say it's raining really hard and the best example I can give you is in La Cañada. There was a time where it had a fire on the hill, and so they had no plants in the ground because they were all burned. And so when it rained, the dirt wasn't holding to the ground, so it started crashing down. And so the dirt and the water crashed down, and it took houses with them. That's avulsion. It's a violent action of wind or water taking away your land. So accretion is gaining property, avulsion is losing property. So he wanted to know about that and implement. So I wanted to come on and at least say something about it. And then he had other questions about water rights, like overlying rights. Story. I don't have any good stories right now, but I can tell you I'm closing escrow today on one of my deals with one of my students. So they wanted to buy a property. And okay, I'll tell you the story. What's really cool about their story is this is what makes an experienced real estate agent who cares about their client different than people who just want to make money. So, it was interesting because their parents told me a long time ago, oh, and my son, he's a UPS driver. When he has 2 years history, he's definitely calling you. And well, thank you, Mark. He's definitely going to call you, and you're the one. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I've done like a billion loans for you, so I've refinanced the parents at least 4 times. And they're like, hey, do you do real estate? I go, I do real estate when I'm training people, or it's a referral for me because I don't want to step on the toes of people that I'm coaching and teaching. And so they're like, definitely, we know that. And so they came to me, and at first I said, unfortunately, but true, sometimes they get married and their spouse has somebody that they know that's a real estate agent. And, happy wife, happy life, because I knew the husband or the parents of the husband. So, with that said, you guys, you got to be really careful because you want your connections, but also, if they have a connection on the other side and they're newly married, you're going to have kind of a push pull situation. So, what happened was I talked to the husband several times. And at first, I gave him a bunch of information. At the end of the conversation, he's like, yeah, but we have to go with my wife's friend. And I'm just like, oh, great. I just gave you 45 minutes of free information. And I was kind of bummed out. And so then they went out with the other agent. And they actually gave all their information to the other agent's loan officer who happened to be their spouse. So it was a husband and wife team that was a loan officer and a real estate agent. And I don't know which one was which, but I said to them, I go, well, you went out with them already. You pretty much, did you sign a buyer's agreement? And of course, that's my dog drinking water right when I'm talking. So basically what happened was I asked him, I said, okay, you're not going to drink water while I'm on. So that's that, because she is just being difficult. She wants attention. So anyway, it went like this. So I thought I lost him. And he goes, but I really want my wife to talk to you because I'd really love to give you an opportunity. I go, but you already went out with them. You guys, the rule is this. If somebody's working with another agent, I'm fighting my dog. If somebody's working with another agent, the code of ethics with realtors is you do not step on the toes of another agent. And so I told them that. I said, well, you're already working with somebody. I'm not going to steal a client. He's like, yeah, but we were talking about you and we were talking about them. And, when my brother passed away, that's when, I couldn't talk on the phone very much because I was taking care of business for him. And so what ended up happening was, just when you think you lost it, you guys never give up and always ask for the business. And so I said to him, I said, look, I could help you. And I know I do a good job, but I'm asking you for your business, but if you're already with somebody else, I'm not going to step on your toes. So he really respected that. And he talked to his wife about it. Then he called me again, like a couple days later, after they had looked with the other people. And I said, well, you already looked with them. And he's like, yeah, but we went and we looked at all these homes. We really didn't like anything. Nothing's really in our price range. And I said, well, what's your price range? And they said, well, we got pre-approved for 520. And I said, well, you're a UPS driver and she's in administration. There's got to be a way that you guys qualify for more. What kind of loan did they qualify you for? So we talked about that. He goes, can I just put my wife on the phone? And I go, sure, of course. So this is where the knowledge of loans can save your deal if you're a real estate agent. And a lot of real estate agents just pass it on to the loan officer because they don't want to have to learn all this stuff. And so when they put the wife on the phone, I'm like, I talked to them about their finances. I talked to them about what kind of payment they were looking for. And I said, I think I can get, I don't know what kind of loan they pre qualified you on, but on FHA, I can get you a higher loan amount, I believe, unless they just, maybe they don't do FHA. Maybe they don't understand FHA. So they just do conventional. So I got them pre approved. Ha ha for 585 from 520 from another agent. So we went looking and I didn't want to push them to have the payment be too high. So what I did was I said, hey, these are the payments and these are the homes I'd like to show you. And I showed them to them on a Zoom call. And every time I talk to them, I talk to them on a Zoom call. And so that's the other thing. Don't just talk to your clients on the phone. Ask them if they'd like to Zoom so that you could see eye to eye and they're talking with you, they connect with you. So then what happened was they called me back and I thought, you know, not again. They're going to tell me about how they went out. They didn't find anything. And so I kind of answered the phone. So you got to be careful. I kind of answered the phone like, yeah, what do you want? And honestly, don't do that. That was one of my bad mistakes because he's like, hey, we've decided to work with you. And they had already gone out with the other person 2 or 3 times. They were only pre-qualified for that 520, like I said. After I told them 585, that made them rethink it. And I said, if you really, if you're really unhappy with them and you don't want to work with them, they are friends of yours. So this is going to be, using me is not going to be very good for your relationship. And they're like, yeah, but after you said 585 and they were only showing us stuff, they were showing them stuff at 520 or lower. And I said, well, the payment's going to be higher. And they said, yeah. And we went back and forth. So when I did the Zoom call and I showed them property, I literally said, here's the properties I feel from what we talked about that you might like. And I showed them all. And the last one I showed them was listed at 585. And I said, here's where my professionalism and my knowledge is going to help you. I don't think this house is worth 585. I think it's overpriced. And they're like, how do you know that? I'm like, because I comped it out and I know how to look at what the values are and the areas. I go, I think we should look at it. And they're like, we saw that one, but we thought we couldn't qualify for it. But we really like it because it's a 3-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom. It has 2.5 baths. And that way we won't have to move our family. And then if we decide to rent it, we'll get more rent and on and on and on. And they got really excited. And I go, don't get too excited because we don't know if the seller really knows what their house is worth. Maybe they just overpriced it and the real estate agent couldn't talk them into coming lower. And so, of course, they really liked it. And by the time we got out to look at it, it had dropped to 569. So they knew they were overpriced. I'm trying to guard my dog from making noise. So anyway, they were already down at 569. And so after we walked out of the house, I looked at my clients and I'm like, I still don't think it's worth that much. There she goes again. You know what? I'm just going to get you. So anyway, here comes the kicker. I said to them, why don't we do this? I'm going to put my dog outside. Why don't we do this? I'm going to call the other agent, the listing agent. I'm going to talk to her about what she thinks about the price. But first, before I do that, I'll comp it out. So I comped it out. 542 to 548 is what I found. So I was more comfortable around 545, but I called the agent and I said, hey, can I ask you a question? And she goes, yeah. I go, I don't mean to be like a Miss Know-it-all or anything. She goes, yeah. And she goes, I know what you're going to say. And I go, what am I going to say? And she goes, I'm overpriced, aren't I? And I go, way overpriced. I go, at the beginning, you were way overpriced. Now you're just kind of overpriced. She goes, what are you thinking? I go, I'm thinking 545 to 550. And I go, and that's pushing it. She goes, if you can come in at 552, I can probably get my seller to 552 because we already have a cash offer at 550, which I think was blowing smoke, by the way. The reason I think it was blowing smoke is because I don't see 552 and I don't see an investor paying cash or even 50% down at top of the market price because investors aren't going to do that. So that was my first clue that she was kind of trying to push me up when I really didn't think she had another offer. So anyway, long story short, the appraisal comes in and we're in at 552 because we got it, of course. And appraisal came in at 530. 530. I was just like, no way. It's not worth 530. I knew it's not worth 530. Minimum 545. But hey, so I called her and I showed her the appraisal. The seller really didn't agree with it. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm glad you don't agree with it, but I'm gonna dispute it and we'll see what happens. We disputed it through the lender and we disputed it directly. So you have to know how to dispute an appraisal against an appraiser who did an FHA appraisal. And once they do an FHA appraisal, it goes to HUD. So HUD has a copy of it. And once HUD has a FHA appraisal on record, you're not going to get that property for any lower if you go FHA or VA. So I explained all that to them and I said, but let's see what we can do. I will show them my comps because the appraiser used bad comps, stuff that was like 4 and 5 miles away. I'm like, that's not even, you're not supposed to go more than a mile away. So what ends up happening, yeah, I know, right, Mark? So guess how much I got their house for? Go Sharon, go Sharon. So the seller said, we're not coming down lower. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. And I said this to the real estate agent. I go, look, what didn't you say the seller is not going to sell the property if this deal doesn't go through, the seller's just going to stop and rent it out and you're going to lose your entire commission. And she's like, yeah, I said that. I go, okay, if that's true, if you're going to lose your whole commission, wouldn't you rather make $3,000 to $5,000 less than nothing at all? And I don't know why she didn't think of that. I'm like, yeah. And so I'll come down on my commission 4 grand if you come down 4 grand, and if we can get the buyers and the sellers to come in with a little bit and lower the price, whatever. I go, at least if we can work the numbers together and massage it, we both will get paid. My clients will get the home of their dreams, and your seller can move on. And she's like, well, that's a really good way to look at it. And I said, isn't it though? That's why you have to be a good negotiator. So what ends up happening is she went back to the seller, and the seller actually agreed to come down. So we got the house for my clients for 542. We got it down $10,000 for them. And now, I mean, now it's even better for them. So we all worked together. So that's what communication and working together is about. And there's my story for Mark, because I know Mark wanted his story. And they're going to close escrow today. So they signed their loan docs last night, and they wired their money late yesterday afternoon, and today I get to deliver the keys, and I probably will try to videotape that. They said that they didn't really want to do it until Friday, so maybe we'll do it Friday morning when we'll videotape going over there and getting the keys for my clients. So isn't that exciting? So I still actually work in California. I am a California broker, and I teach how to pass the California real estate exam. And tonight's the last night of our 4-day class, and then Saturday. So there's that one girl. Thank you, Mark. That's what you do. That's how it works. That's how you make it come together. So I saw that somebody said they just got through their 3 classes. If you just got through your 3 classes, and even if you didn't, and you need help on your finals, because if you don't read the information, how the hell are you going to pass the finals? Our exam prep class is not just an exam prep class. I go through all the stuff that you need to know to pass the California real estate license. Thank you very much. And so if you pass your 3 classes and you want more than just a cram course one weekend, what you can do is take our class as many times as you need to. So you could take like the 4-day class and then the 2-day class, or you could do the 2-day class and the 4-day class. And there's no extra charge to take the class more than one time. A lot of people have taken it 2 times and pass, 1 time and pass, but some people where they have English as a second language or a fifth language or whatever. We had a few students like that where they started taking the class in January, and then they took the test for the first time in March and passed. So we're here to help you. Isn't that exciting? You're so excited to get my class. Well, then do it this weekend. Isadora, we're doing class this weekend from 8:30 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. And then Monday morning, I fly out to Sacramento. And then Thursday night, I fly out to the film festival to get an award for best script. Yes, for a short film, best script. It's going to be playing on big screen. And then we go to Washington, D.C. to work with senators and assemblymen and talk to them about what's happening with homeownership in America. So you got to just keep pushing forward. And then I'll be back and start teaching again. So I'm back on the 12th, and we do the cram course on that weekend. And then we do the cram course that week. And then we take a week off. So you guys schedule around it, take the class, because if you can take the class and then study for a week and then take the class again and take your test, you could do that too. So we're here to help you. And I wanted to say hi to everybody because I have my favorite people who pop on all the time. And it's really weird that YouTube has changed it because they made it so I have to film it a different way. But anyway, I wanted to say hi, good morning, and all that. And I better get going because I got to get to Costa Mesa. Have a wonderful day. And hopefully I'll pop up again on Friday. Bye. I don't know how to shut it off now because they changed it all around on me. So I don't know. Maybe you're stuck with me, right? See you later.